Y'all glad you're here? Awesome. Well, hey, I've got some kind of cool stuff for you. In your seat when you got here this morning was our 2015 annual report. Hold this up. Hold it up. Pick it up. Now, here's what I need you to do. Take it with you. Okay? Don't leave it here. Take it with you when you leave today. I want to go over some things on here. Actually, I want you to just turn it over and go straight to the back because I want to share some stuff of what's happening here at Real Life Church. Now, this is kind of cool because this doesn't happen every week, but some dear friends of mine, Robbie and Melina Burning, are here, and I won't have them come up on stage. I won't do that to you, Melina. But Robbie and Melina were with us the first day that we walked into the pawn shop that would become Real Life Church. And they remember the first day, and I can remember Melina, you've heard me tell this story of we were up there painting and scraping and trying to get things together, and we kept just saying the same thing. We just got to have church. We just got to have church. If we can just get to preaching. And we had chairs from First Baptist and the Episcopal Church. In fact, all of our folding chairs still had First Baptist Church stickers on them. People were confused. We were like, they were free. So, but that first Sunday, we had 80-some people show up. And then the second Sunday, we had 36 people show up. So I did awesome that first day. I mean, it nosedived. But I'm so glad you guys are here. To be able to see. In 2013, we averaged 306 in attendance. 2014, we averaged 339. And then last year, things started going a little crazy. And we jumped 33% to 449 people in the year 2015. Now, you guys celebrate that real quick. Go ahead. This is where it starts to get just ridiculous. Because since January 1 of moving into this facility, January 1 to the end of February, and today we're going to be up right around 700 again with both services today. Our average attendance has been 680 people through 2016, okay? And I cannot wait to see what's going to happen next. And Robbie, and Melina, and Harley, and the whole family, thanks for being there in the beginning of it all. And walking with us when nobody else believed it. Sometimes you don't ever get a chance to say thank you, and I'm so honored that they're here today and walking through this with us. But here's the deal, guys. If you look down at these numbers at the bottom, the things we're most proud of, as much as I love big house and big numbers, the reality is every number has a name, and every name represents a soul that Jesus wants to meet him. And so down here at the bottom, we see the numbers we really love to celebrate. Last year, we saw 66 people come to a first-time decision with Jesus Christ as their Savior. We saw 36 people say yes by following that in baptism. But here's what's cool. We had 36 people last year in 2015 that were baptized. January 31st of this year, we baptized 42 in one day. We're not done. We're not done. God is still moving, and we're still going to do our best to let him do what he wants to do here at Real Life Church. We're going to ride along, if that's okay with you guys. I'm just going to try to stay right in the middle of what he's doing, and if we can do that, I believe the favor of God is going to be upon us. So you guys have seen as you've come in, we're going to get to more of that here in just a second, but as I preach you through the sermon today, I want to talk to you today. It's a story out of the book of John, chapter 2. It's the wedding at Cana. Is where we're going to be talking about. And you guys, if you've studied the Bible, you know this was Jesus' first miracle. But I want to talk to you maybe from a little different perspective today about this and just talk about, have any of you ever been on the outside of an inside joke? And let's just all agree, that's like the worst spot ever. Am I right? To be on the outside of an inside joke. When everybody else is giggling and you're going, yeah, that's funny. I have no idea what they're talking about. But you have had those awkward moments. And I want to talk today about the reality of the difference between being on the outside and being on the inside in regards to Jesus' church. And we'll even get more simple to that and saying those being on the outside and on the inside of Real Life Church and what it costs, what it matters, and how much it matters that you be on the inside of this. And some of the things that keep us from actually getting involved on the inside. There's hesitations for all of us. There's things that we say, well, I just don't know if I can do that. But I don't know any other way to explain the move of God that's happening here other than this. Last week, those of you that were here, you know I preached on volunteering. The whole service was get involved, get involved, get involved. Last week, 5 people committed and said yes to Jesus Christ for the very first time for salvation, and 11 people signed up for baptism at a volunteering sermon. No, hey, hold up. We had this discussion last week. If you're going to celebrate, go ahead and celebrate. If you're not, I'm not offended. It's okay. 5 people said yes to Jesus last week. And that's something worth celebrating, okay? So, we're going to dive into this and get right into this message this morning because I want you to see the difference in this story of those that were just there and kind of experiencing the moment and those that actually had involvement in it. So, if you have your Bible, John chapter 2, starting with verse 1 is where we're going to be. It says, on the 3rd day, there was a wedding in Cana in Galilee. And the mother of Jesus was there, and Jesus also was invited to the wedding with his disciples. And when the wine ran out, the mother of Jesus said to him, they have no more wine. Before we go any further, let's just talk to the husbands here for a second. You are not Jesus. So you never get to say this to your wife or mother, okay? And Jesus said to her, woman, what does this have to do with me? Don't do that, okay? I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. It will end badly for you if you do that. He says, my hour has not yet come. And his mother said to the servants, you do whatever he tells you to do. Now, I don't know how Mary got this role where she could just speak to the servants like that. She may have just been kind of, one of them ladies that's pretty demanding. And she just said, hey, whatever he says, you do it. And we see Jesus begin this process of his first miracle. And so we're talking stretch marks this week, and last week we're talking about how God is stretching us as a church, and he's pulling us in different directions, which are fantastic. But as we talk today, I challenge and I pray that God begins to stretch you in some of the things that he's doing in your life. So here's the thing that we're going to go to first. John chapter 2, verse 6, it says, now there were 6 stone water jars there for the Jewish rite of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. So we've got this picture now. We're in this big party room, and over in the corner that people would use to wash with and for the rite of purification, there's these 6 jars. And some are 30-gallon jars, some are 20-gallon jars, probably a 25 in there, some just all different sizes of jars that are there. And Jesus tells the disciples to go and get those jars. And here's the first thing I want to tell you. The first point today as we get into this is that Jesus is going to measure you based on your capacity, not on comparison. See, Jesus is going to look at what he's given you and what you can hold. And I love the fact that he mentions that there's these different size jars there. And he says, listen, the 30-gallon one's never going to hold 20 gallons, but it'll hold 30 gallons really well. The 25's never going to hold 30. It'll run all over the place, but it'll hold 25 really well. As we go through this stretching period in our life and in our church life, and maybe even in your personal life, you've got to understand that God has wired you very specifically, that Jesus has gifted you to do great things greatly. And so many times we stop just short by saying, you know what, well, I don't do it as well as they do it, and so I'm just out. I could never preach like this guy or that guy, and I'm just going to be straight with you. I watch guys online all the time. I'm watching and listening to preachers, and there are moments I sit there and go, Lord, why can't I preach like that? That guy just tears it down, man, every time he preaches. And I fall into the same trap of comparison where I look around and musically, Aaron was here this morning playing the lead guitar, but next week he may be playing the keyboard, and the week after that he may be playing the bass, and I'm pretty sure if you put drumsticks in his hand, he'd make some noise there too that it would sound good. And I look at that and I go, you make me sick. Just being straight. I can't do all of those things. And I love music. And so, God, couldn't you have just given, why couldn't I have been a little bit, could you given me a little bit like Aaron's got? And I thought there for a while. I actually went and somebody said, I heard you want to learn to play the keyboard. I'm like, yeah, I just love to sit around and play the piano and worship, and, I'd play some, and so they got me a keyboard. I got a little something on there. I learned how to play the C chord, and I was like, yes. And then that was really all I did with it. It just kind of stopped right there. So now Andy has my keyboard, the guy that was playing the keyboards this morning. I just gave it to him to use at home because there wasn't anything coming out of it. I'd try. I'd hit that demo button and pretend I was playing stuff, but it really wasn't me. And because I didn't have that talent and that gift set to do that where other people do, but I could wear myself out just trying to go, well, Lord, if you'd have made me more like that, if you'd have just done this in my life, then I would be able to do more. Well, let me talk about that a little bit from your talent perspective and also in your giving perspective when you say, God, I can't do that, so I'll just do nothing. What a shame that is, because although some of you are not children's workers, okay? I understand that. Some of you, if I said, hey, would you like to work in the children's room? You'd probably commit a felony of some sort back there. You'd want to put one in a closet, you'd want to hide one somewhere, or you'd want to go run away. All right? And so, but others of you are like, I love kids. They're amazing, and the funny stuff they do, and when they color all over their face, it's so cute. Thank God for you people. But some of you go, well, I can't do that, so I'm just out. When there's so much to do. There's so many ways for you to plug in and get involved here at Real Life Church, and not even just here at Real Life Church, just as a Christian in general throughout our community and the different organizations that are doing their best to proclaim the gospel. But then even we step back from that, we do the same thing with our giving, and we say, well, I can't give like this person gives, and so I'm just going to kind of hang tight, and what could I do? When that offering bucket passes, it just kind of passes. What could I do? Well, that's why Jesus does this. He says, you know what? I'm not going to measure the 25-gallon jug on the 30 gallons capacity because that wouldn't be right. Whatever the 25-gallon jug can do, I'm perfectly good with that because that's what it's made to do. Some of you right now, you're living in this place where you're constantly comparing and you're not looking at your capacity saying, what could I do? Not what can my neighbor do? Well, somebody else will pick up the slack if I don't do it. I just gave you guys the numbers a second ago and said, look, in 2015, we gained 33% in attendance, and we all went, woo! But here's the reality. We gained 33% in attendance and 1% in giving. That's about the response we had in the 9:30 service when I told them that. They say, well, but Pastor Vince, I can't do that. I don't want you to do what your neighbor does. I don't expect that. Neither does God. But here's what I would expect, is that you're faithful in what God has given you the capacity to do. That you're stepping into this because you say, well, Vince, I just don't. Well, let's look at what he says here in Luke chapter 12, verse 48. It says, when someone has been given much will be required in return. And when someone has been entrusted with much more is required. And so we get this picture as God saying, well, God, you're going to measure me on what everybody else is doing? No, God's not going to measure me on what somebody else is doing. You say, well, that's kind of what I feel like sometimes. That's a lie from the enemy that says, hey, as long as you can keep up with the Joneses, you'll be fine. Guys, you're going to church in a horse barn. We gave up competing a long time ago. I mean, the only stained glass in here is probably from formula on a window. That's it. We got post right back there where our camera sits. It's all chewed out where the horses kept chewing on it. And we said, well, let's just keep that one. We'll just keep it. And it's great. It's not about comparing. It's about capacity. A few weeks ago, I told you all we were completely out of chairs. We took them from the kids. We're glad you're here, but we gave your kids a nice, comfy rug to sit on, and we went and took the chairs out of the children's room to be able to put them in here because we realized that God will always provide if we will prepare. And so we started setting all the chairs in here just to see what would happen. And every time we've made space, God has filled the space. Every time we've added an extra chair, there's people that come in and fill the chairs. And I can't explain it. I just like being a part of believing that God has given us a capacity. And what a fun ride it is to try to live to that capacity. So I challenge you in your own personal walk to do the same thing. God, what capacity did you give me? Did you give me the capacity to give a tithe? Did you give me a capacity to give a tithe and an offering? Did you give me a capacity? What did you bless me with? And Lord, help me to be faithful in doing that, because sometimes we stop just short. You say, well, I still think that God compares. This is cool right here. I want you to look at this. I'm going to read it to you, and it's going to come up on the screen. But Mark chapter 12, verse 41. Jesus sat down near the collection box at the temple and watched the crowd drop in their money. I just think that's awesome. Think about that for a second. Hey, can you hand me one of those offering buckets right there? Wouldn't it be fantastic if Jesus took the offering up? Are you sure? I mean, are you sure? Because it's me, it's me. That's what he did. You guys thought I was tough. I give you 3 options. You can give online, you can give on your phone, you can give in the buckets as they pass. Jesus said, why don't we do it right here? Just me and you. I told them, the ushers in the back, I said, look, y'all need to be like McDonald's. They said, what? I said, when you pass the bucket, say, would you like to supersize that? But they didn't listen to me. They don't do that. So here's Jesus standing here at the temple, and he's having this conversation, and he's just watching. He's just watching. The text says, and he watched as many rich people put in large amounts. I know some of you are like, rich people? That's not how it says it. There's no punctuation there or anything. He's just given a description that these people had more wealth, and he's watching them put in large amounts. And then this poor widow comes by. And see, we do this in the church sometimes. We go, oh, the poor widow. Hey, this poor widow, she's what she was. Her capacity wasn't the 30-gallon jug. It probably wasn't even the 20-gallon jug. She was even further down the list there. But you know what she did? She gave to her capacity. It wasn't as much monetarily, but it was everything spiritually when she said, you know what, God, I'm going to trust what you've given me, and I'm going to give it back to you in the capacity that you've blessed me with it. God knows your context. Jesus knows what you're able to do and what you've been blessed to do. And I know a lot of churches flip out about it. Somebody come to me after service and said, I went to a church where they asked for my financial records for the year. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm not ever going to do that. So don't sweat that. I'm not going to send you tithing envelopes to your house. I want you to give in the capacity that God has blessed you to give. It's between you and Him. But make sure that there's something between you and Him. Second thing that we see here that happens in this story is that when Jesus tells the disciples, He says, now, fill the jars with water. And they filled them up to the brim. Sorry, I'm in John chapter 2, verse 7. Go on down with me. And he said to them, now draw some out and take it to the master of the feast. So they took it. 2 things Jesus tells them to do. We never get a hesitation on follow through. Do you know why? It's because God honors initiative over intention. God honors initiative over intention all day long. Because how many of you have intended to do something, like clean out the garage? And it ain't happening. You say, yeah, it's going to happen. No, let's just be straight, okay? It's probably not going to happen. Your wives are going, you're right. Amen, Pastor Vance, it ain't going to happen. But we have the best of intentions. We're human. We want to do better. It's in us to do better. We want to do better. Man, I want to be a better dad. I want to be a better husband. I want to give more to the church. Vince, if I'd hit that Powerball, we wouldn't be worried about any of this right now. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about it at all. God hasn't given me that gift of worry. I don't have it. I know God is faithful. I know God is true. But I also know that God rewards the step over the thought of a step any day of the week. And see, that's what we see here. The disciples, a lot of people go, well, they picked up those pots, they walked over to the sink, they ran the water and filled the pots. No. See, the only way they'd have been able to get water to fill those pots was to leave the party. See, they'd have picked up the pot, they'd have left the party, they would have went to the well down in the center of town, they'd have drawn the water, taken it back, carried the 30 gallons of water, which isn't light, by the way, back to the party so that there it could be used. And then once they get it all back there, Jesus gives them another command, says, hey, go ahead and dip a little bit out and take it to the master of the party. What if the disciples would have sat there and said, Jesus, I would love to go fill that pot, but it is way over there. I mean, we're at a party. I'm getting my groove on. It's nice. Looking at that lady over in the corner. Can we just hang out here? It's a wedding, because all the single guys are like, what? That's what's happening. He said, no. Go do this. Go do this. There's a plan. There's a process that's happening, and I'm going to let you be on the inside of this. I'm going to let you be on the inside if you'll just follow the process. And so they take these steps and they go do what Jesus said to do, because this idea of intention, and you guys know the old saying, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Well, here's the problem. Every thought you've ever had, every action you've ever done starts with a good intention. The next step is the hardest, following through. Where you say, you know what, I'm intending to do better as a dad, so I'm going to spend more time with my kids. So I'm going to be a better husband. So I'm going to be a servant in the church. And you take these steps. This shows initiative. This shows I can do this, and I'm going to do it. I'm not just going to talk about it. We see this not only in giving, we see it in our gifts and our talents. We go, well, I know God's given me, I know God's blessed me with something, but I just don't know what to do with it. Well, you can either sit there and hang on to it, or you can step into an environment and see. And if it doesn't work, we'll move you, I promise. If you're a greeter and you're grumpy all the time, I don't want you to greet. Thanks for coming to Real Life Church. You're not my guy. Yeah, we got stinking coffee. It's in there. It's always cold. I don't want you greeting. You can park cars. Sometimes we need you to be grumpy parking cars. And that's okay. There's a place for you, but don't just sit there and have the intention of getting involved. Get involved. Don't just say, well, if I made more money, then I'd give. See, no, what you're doing is you're comparing again. Go ahead and take the step and see what God will bless you with. I've told you all this. I have thrown this out for the last 2 years, and not one person has taken me up on this. And I believe it's because people are afraid. They're afraid of what they're going to find out. I've told you, if you don't tithe currently, and you will tithe for 3 months, at the end of that 3 months, if you can tell me God hasn't blessed you, I'll give every dime back. I'll give it all back to you. I'll write you a check. See, the thing is, I'm not afraid of that challenge because I know better. I know the God that I serve, and I know that if you're faithful in a few things, He will make you master over many. And those aren't my words, those are His words, and I can stand on them. He said, Vince, but that's easy for you. You're the pastor. No, it's easy for me because I've tried it. When we started Real Life Church, and Robbie and Melina were there when we did this, and I was working full-time and trying to pastor the church, and I just said, I can't do this. And I said, I can't, I've got to focus on the church. We're growing, and I've got to be here. And so we said, what are we going to do? And I said, I'm going to quit my job. Jennifer said, you what? I said, I'm going to quit my job. And there was myself, Jennifer, and our 5 kids. And I quit. The church said, what can we pay you? What can we pay me? I don't know. Let's look at it. And they looked at it, and they paid me $225 a week. 7 of us in the house, paying rent, buying groceries, $225 a week. And never, not once, were we short, were we hungry, and did my kids go without? Because God is faithful. I don't mind at all. You know what? Try Him. That's what the Bible says. Try me in this and see that I won't open the windows of heaven and pour out a blessing that you cannot contain. Church, you guys don't realize it, but you are the blessing that I cannot contain. I took that step 7 years ago in faith and said, I'm going to do this, God, whether anybody believes it or not. We're going to take this step. And now today, moving to 3 services with over 700 people attending the church, you are the blessing that God opened the window and poured out on me. And I want you to experience that in your own life. Because we move from this idea of intention and initiative to this last part of this, and I love this part of it because it goes into this idea of what happened with Jesus. I'm going to give you this passage in Philippians, though, first, because it's really clear and it's a really great explanation. Here's Paul writing to the church at Philippi, and he says, and now, verse 8, dear brothers and sisters, one final thing. Fix your thought on what is true and honorable and right and pure and lovely and admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Keep putting into practice. You guys got to catch that part, because see, that's not intention. That's initiative. That's taking the step. Keep putting into practice all the things that you have learned and received from me. Everything you have seen, heard from me, and saw me doing. Not thinking about doing, the things you saw me doing. The rubber meets the road. Catch this, the last part of the verse. It says, then. Oh, man. Yeah, it's a conditional verse. Then the peace of God will be upon you. I just want peace in my life, Pastor Vince. If I could just get peace in my life. Keep putting into practice all that you have learned and received from me, everything you have heard from me and saw me doing. Then the God of peace will be upon you. You can't sweat God about no peace in your life if we're not taking the initiative to do the things of God in our life. It's an impossible argument. And so we move on to the third thing. This is my favorite. I love this. Sipping and serving release different levels of blessing. You read the passage in verse 9. It starts in John chapter 2. It says, when the master of the feast tasted the water and now become wine, he did not know where it came from. This is his party. And he didn't know where it came from. Then I love the little quotations here. It says, though the servants who drew the water, they knew. The master of the feast called the bridegroom and said, hey, everybody serves the good wine first. And then when everybody gets drunk freely, then they bring out the bad stuff. Because everybody's too drunk to know it's the bad stuff. That's the process that's happening here. I know if you wanted stained glass, you shouldn't have came to Horse Barn for the church, all right? That's what's happening in Scripture. He says, everybody gets drunk, and so they bring out the cheap, watered-down stuff, because then nobody cares. But you guys, you brought the good stuff for last. This is amazing. I've never been at a party like this. This is awesome. But I want to tell you a little story about that, because see, this bridegroom is here and he's enjoying the party too. He's over there having a ball. The family's married now. They're partying. There's wine a-flowing. It's a good day to be at a wedding. All right? See, there's something going on behind the scenes that he doesn't know about. Something happening on the inside, where Jesus is doing something pretty amazing with the people who are involved. Those disciples that went and filled the jug, the servant that went and gave to the master. There's just a smaller group that's really involved, and they're plugged in, because here's the reality, folks. Everybody that was at that party went away with a buzz, but only those that were involved in the process went away with a blessing. And there's so much of that happens anymore in churches. We go, man, real life church, woo! I love it! I mean, some of you don't act like that. Just Richard Pickers acts like that. Yeah, there you go. But you're amped about coming to church, and man, that was awesome. That was phenomenal. 3 weeks ago, we baptized 42 people on this stage. We had water to the back wall, to the children's area, and it was awesome. No other way to tell it. But here's the reality. Do you know who that blessing was larger for? The person that gave so that they could meet Jesus. The kids that get saved back there through those double black doors, and you guys get frustrated because you're sitting there going, can't we just drop them off and go? No, because we love your kids way too much to risk them. We want them checked in where they're safe and it's secure. But the life change that happens back there happens because somebody out here says, I'll give. I'll serve. The marriages that are put back together, see, the blessing is different. You can come every week and you can get a buzz from the party, because we have a party every Sunday. We love having church at Real Life Church. I can't wait till the barn can't contain us. Okay? And it's going to be awesome when that happens. Here in a couple of weeks, we're going to go to the shed at the college. And I don't know that the shed's going to contain us, because we're going to have a great day celebrating that Jesus Christ is alive and well and changing lives. We're going to do that, and it's going to be fantastic. And you can be a part of the party, or you can be a part of the inside. where you're actually involved and you're investing your time and your talent and your treasure, and you're saying, God, this is so good to be a part of, because see, that person getting baptized was because I took a card and I invited them. That person and their marriage getting back together is because I gave so that we can have staff and a counselor that walks through life with them and helps them heal the broken pieces. And I'm a part of that. I already told you the reality, guys. The numbers are pretty staggering in the comparison from 33% attendance to 1% financial giving. We were in a meeting and somebody actually said it like this. They said, the truth is that the majority of the church give more to Netflix than they do their relationship with Christ. I'm not against Netflix. I'm a fan. I love it. But I don't love it here. I love it here. See, our church has been blessed so much that we give away. We help benevolence-wise. We feed people. We help start churches across the country. We support children's homes in Honduras, Bible colleges in the Philippines. We've been blessed. And regardless of whatever amount comes in the church, we tithe as a church. We give it away. And never, ever has God ever cheated us. In fact, He keeps sending us people, and we're honored by it. So the question I want to ask you, and I want you to think about this in a couple different, from your talent perspective, how you're gifted, your time, what time you have, and then from your treasures. Are you generous? I want you to think about if everybody at Real Life Church gave like you give, would we be okay? Would we make it? Or are you kind of leaning on somebody else, kind of hoping they give more? Well, they got more free time. Maybe they can volunteer, but I just can't. What can you do to reach one more? What can you do to reach that family that lives next door? That little kid that won't stay out of your yard? What can you do? That's the question you have to ask. Because God's not going to compare you to anybody. He's going to say, here's what I blessed you with. What did you do with it?